This is Julie Gibson Clark, a 55-year-old single mom with one of the slowest speeds of aging in the world.
An Arizona woman believes she has figured out the way to reverse the signs of aging.
Whereas Bryan Johnson spends about $2 million a year to get similar results, and even Dave Pascoe, who I made a video about, spends approximately $30,000 a year, Julie spends a whopping $2,400 a year on her longevity protocol. You can't even see it on the graph I've attached. If you're new here, my name is Sunny. I'm a junior doctor from Australia, passionate about health, fitness, and longevity. I've been researching anti-aging topics for the last 8 years of my life, and this has been facilitated by me completing a Bachelor of Medical Science. In this video, we're going to be breaking down the most crucial aspects of her routine so you can use it in your life. Here's the best part. She doesn't take hundreds of supplements every single day. She doesn't use a bunch of expensive biohacking tools. She's not vegan. She doesn't eat the same thing every day. And she works a normal job, which makes her approach so much more attainable for the typical person like yourself watching this video. We're going to be going through some crucial fundamentals from the perspective of diet, sleep, and exercise, as well as a key supplement that I will reveal at the end of the video. In addition to this, at every step of the way, I will teach you how to implement what she is doing to maximize your own health span. One of the most interesting aspects of her exercise regimen is how she manages to maintain consistency with her workout routine. It's crucial to understand that she essentially tricks her brain into going to the gym, and this helps her with working out.
I like going for the sauna. So I joined the gym for the sauna, and I usually wake up in the morning thinking, I'm not going to do my workout. I'm just going to go, I'm going to have a sauna, and that'll be kind of my, cardiovascular for the day. But as soon as I walk in, I'm like, okay, you got to do like one set of something. So
there are two interesting observations here, and I believe they are both taken directly from Atomic Habits. The first is the idea of temptation bundling. The way this works is by linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do, and this makes the latter more enjoyable and easy to follow through on. In her case, she links the enjoyable habit of going to the sauna with going to the gym, which she doesn't enjoy as much. Indeed, sauna itself also has significant benefits on cardiovascular health and all-cause mortality. In one study, after adjusting for cardiovascular risk factors, compared with men doing one sauna bathing session per week, the hazard ratio of sudden cardiac death was 0.78 for 2 to 3 sauna sessions per week and 0.34 for 4 to 7 sauna bathing sessions per week. Now, it's a small study, but in simple terms, that means that the individuals using sauna greater than 4 times per week were 63% less likely to die from sudden cardiac death, and similar associations were found with fatal coronary heart disease, fatal cardiovascular disease, and all-cause mortality. Now, let's go to the second trick, which helps her exercise. What she does is she makes the first step of the habit easy to implement, which enables her to get started, and then the momentum from that enables completion of the entire habit. In this instance, she has told herself that she will only do one set. Once that has happened, it's a lot easier for her to then go through the entire program. Such an approach is known as the 2-minute rule. This idea is also reinforced by her advice to beginners as well, which is to start with the bare minimum.
just start where you're at. If you're not doing anything, just get the exercise snacks in.
If you're not already aware, exercise snacking refers to the idea of fitting physical activity into your day by breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. So, of course, the psychological component is very important, but what about the actual workout itself? What makes it beneficial? Well, I've specifically talked about how to increase your VO2 max in a video that has been linked below, but here is what Peter Attia had to say about it.
To produce the highest VO2 max and to produce the greatest degree of metabolic flexibility, you think of it as a pyramid, where the base of the pyramid is your zone 2 efficiency and the peak of the pyramid is your VO2 max. And the total area of the pyramid is your cardiorespiratory engine. So you want not a narrow base with a high peak, not a wide base with a short peak. You want a big base, big peak. And the way to get that is about 80-20.
It's very, very similar to strength training in a way. You're essentially building a pyramid where the base is your aerobic capacity, just like how much muscle mass you have. And then you peak on a particular day, which would be like a focused strength training day. In this case, she has a VO2 max day. So, as you can see, she has 3 dedicated days to building her zone 2 base. That includes Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then she takes a rest day on Sunday, after which she subsequently has a VO2 max testing day. On the VO2 max testing day, she is specifically focused on first testing the VO2 max and then building the height of the pyramid. And the way she does this is through the Norwegian 4x4 method. Indeed, this method has been shown in numerous studies to strongly increase VO2 max and cardiovascular stroke volume more than any other intervention. What I especially like about the protocol is the way it's timed. She takes a rest day on Sunday, which is the weekend, and enables her to be well recovered and rested for the subsequent Monday, where she is testing and building her VO2 max.
Monday is actually VO2 max because I figure I kind of got a lot of, back to my dad, like glycogen in my muscles from eating, extra stuff over the weekend. So Monday, first thing, I do the VO2 max and I do a Norwegian 4x4.
On the other 2 days of the week, namely Tuesday and Thursday, she engages in strength training. The first of this is again on Tuesday after she has replenished herself on the weekend, whereas the other is on Thursday and done more so with machines. The combination of free weights on one day and machines on the other is quite smart because machine work may make it easier for her to reach muscular failure whilst simultaneously recovering from the fatigue that free weights can cause. There is significant evidence to suggest a strong correlation between muscular strength and longevity, with increased benefits on mortality, cancer, and cardiovascular risk. I've discussed this in more detail in my video below on why you should get stronger to live longer. Training muscle groups 2 times a week is also shown to be superior from a hypertrophic perspective, whereas evidence of increasing the frequency to 3 times a week is limited, or at least shows an element of diminishing returns. The reason for this is that resistance exercise tends to activate muscle protein synthesis for approximately 36 hours, and training 2 times a week allows this to be maximized. If there's one thing I would change about her exercise frequency, it might be altering her second weights day to Friday. Currently, the gap between the Tuesday and Thursday is too short, and she may not have fully recovered, whereas the gap between the Thursday and subsequent Tuesday is too large, and she may start losing muscle mass and or strength. Alright, let's go into her diet and nutrition. The first thing she does in the morning and prior to going to the gym is drinking green tea. One of the main benefits of doing the above is that the catechins in green tea can help reduce levels of visceral fat in the body. Furthermore, green tea contains various kind of functional elements with anti-obesity, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antioxidative, neuroprotective, and cholesterol lowering effects. I would assume that this benefit would be enhanced if taken prior to working out, as the synergy may lead to a greater visceral fat reduction. Research shows that visceral fat, as opposed to subcutaneous fat, is the main driver of metabolic issues in overweight and obese individuals. At approximately 9 a.m. post-workout, she has a greens drink with a whole list of ingredients such as moringa, fermented dried greens, chlorella, maca, lemon, collagen protein, ice, and water. And apparently it tastes pretty good, although I personally haven't tried it myself.
Whoa. Wow.
Anyway, what particularly stood out to me was the presence of chlorella, which is underrated from a cardiovascular perspective. Indeed, a meta-analysis of 19 randomized controlled trials with 797 subjects demonstrated a reduction in levels of total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, and fasting blood glucose. She also has a similar greens latte recipe as well, with some greens, bone broth, and other ingredients including apple, flaxseed, pecans, spices, and protein powder. She makes sure to cook the greens in the broth first, as it reduces the presence of goitrogens, which can disrupt the production of thyroid hormone. She then has a veggie bowl at 11 a.m. with olives for salt and fat and an additional amount of protein but minimal carbohydrates.
Noon, I go downstairs and I'll grab a bowl of vegetables, and that's anywhere from 6 to 10 ounces of veggies. Because again, this goes back to the paleo days. I don't know if you ever remember that book, Well Fed. I can't remember the author's name, but such a great cookbook. And she was always talking about, you got to eat your veggies. You got to eat your veggies. And I thought, yeah, she's right. You got to eat your veggies. So I just kind of started doing that then. And I became kind of addicted to celery and other things. So.
Sure. Plants are going to kill you, but you got to eat your veggies.
Yeah, you got to be careful, I suppose. But anyway, so that's always varying what's in there. I always try to throw a few olives in there too for the salt and the fats. And then also just some source of protein. So some days I'm just cooking up chicken breasts, which quite honestly get, old after a while. So maybe it's just, I hate to say it, but some cheese sometimes for the calcium. Other times it's just something left over from the night before, but kind of focusing more on the protein, not so much carbs.
Dinner is unique every day, but typically involves a big bowl of protein, some starchy carbs, and even more veggies. When it comes to diet, Peter Attia breaks down the fundamentals for protein intake most optimally.
When you limit yourself to the species of interest, which is humans, not rodents, and you talk about experimental data coupled with other insights, those two things seem to matter the most. How many calories are you getting? Not too much, not too little. Are you getting enough protein? Obviously, there are other terms. We certainly want to make sure you're getting enough micronutrients as well, and that you're avoiding toxins. But a lot of the other stuff, Nick, is details.
The ideal amount to aim for:
1 gram per pound, which would be 2.2 grams per kilo.
In her instance, she mentioned in the Ben Greenfield podcast that she has approximately 95.9 kilograms of lean tissue, and she's consuming approximately 100 grams of protein per day, which is more than ideal. Her last meal of the day also fundamentally brings us to the idea of sleep. She consumes dinner at approximately 5 p.m. This allows her to get approximately 3 hours before bedtime where she isn't eating any food at all. And Matthew Walker explains quite well in the Drive podcast why this is optimal.
What is the optimal time to stop eating before bed?
So I would say probably about 3 hours before bed is where I would really cut it off. And the principal reason is just because when you lie down, more likely to get acid reflux, more likely to have digestive issues. That's the first principal reason. A lot of people will just get reflux if they eat too much closer to bedtime. The other reason, however, is to be mindful of core body temperature. So the advice generally is don't go to bed too full, don't go to bed too hungry. And if you do feel as though you ate earlier in the evening and you just need something to take the edge off, try to stay away from sort of simple carbs. The reason being is that those will actually just get translated more quickly into a sort of an energy and ultimately a heat index. And when you need to fall asleep, you need to drop your core body temperature. So if you're fueling yourself with simple carbs right before bed, let's say that you just have a nice big bowl of cereal, sugary sort of nonsense, you will actually see a slight increase in core body temperature because of that sort of sugar caloric burning. That raises core body temperature. That makes it harder for you to fall asleep. Why? Because you need to drop your core body temperature by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate sleep and then to stay asleep.
There are a few more things which she discusses in further detail which help her sleep.
I wear a sleep mask. I do the mouth tape. I make sure I'm, for the most part, in bed by 9. Again, having a teenager, that makes it kind of hard, but in bed by 9. And then I'm probably lights out by 9:15, 9:30, and my alarm is set for 5:15, depending on the day.
Fundamentals such as making sure she's in bed by 9 p.m., wearing a sleep mask, and also using mouth tape can all have a beneficial effect on sleep. As they always say, an hour before midnight is worth 2 hours after. From a supplement perspective, she takes a supplement from the brand of Novos, which she attributes to a significant proportion of her results. It includes the Boost supplement, which contains large quantities of NMN, and Core, which is a formula containing numerous compounds such as glycine and calcium alpha ketoglutarate. It's too detailed to cover in the rest of this video, but if you're interested in an in-depth breakdown on Novos and whether or not I would recommend it, then make sure to leave a comment below and I'll do that soon. Another longevity expert who I have discussed previously and whom we can learn a lot from is David Pascoe. I've actually created a whole video on his entire process on longevity and you can check that out here. And as always, if you're interested in extending your health span, the duration of life we live free from disease and illness, then please consider subscribing.